Hello my dear friends, it's your guide Olena, and in this video, frequently asked questions about relocation to Ukraine. First of all, guys, I'm a tour guide. Yeah, I'm not an expert in immigration, that's for sure. You can hire me as a guide in Kyiv or Chornobyl, that is what I do professionally. But yeah, you keep asking me questions about visas, residence permit, all that. So, I'm a tour guide and I'm a journalist. And as a journalist, I don't have to know everything, all the answers, but I always have to find a person who knows the answers. And ta-dam, I found the guy. So let me present you the immigration lawyer who agreed to invite me to his cabinet, to his office, and answer your frequently asked questions.
Hello, my name is Sergey Aleksandrov. I'm a managing partner of Legal Ideas law firm based in Ukraine. We do immigration law. We're also working on an artificial lawyer, which is a chatbot in your smartphone. It provides immigration and visa legal advice free of charge to everyone in English language. So you don't need to hire a lawyer in any case. You can use our chatbot and get free of charge professional legal advice.
Frequently asked questions. Yeah, one of them is this registration of a company in Ukraine for foreigners getting a residence permit through this company. Mm-hmm. Is it really the most popular way how to obtain the residence permit, and why?
It's really a company registration used by foreigners very frequently to get Ukrainian residence. It's one of the most popular ways to do this. But if to be precise, I wouldn't say that residence is obtained here through the company registration process. In fact, it's through employment, because in this case, the legal ground to obtain Ukrainian residence is a work permit. The problem is that for a foreigner, it's very difficult to get officially employed in Ukraine, because an employer in Ukraine is obliged to pay really high taxes and high salaries to foreign citizens. That's why when a person cannot get an employer, he sets up his own company and this own company hires him. In general, people say that it's through the company registration. So yes, it's one of the most popular ways. It's not always the cheapest way or the most fast way. There could be different, less complicated, less expensive processes, but not every foreigner can use those options, while everyone can set up his own company and get residence through his own company.
Can a person undergo this process himself, herself, or it is so necessary to get a lawyer?
In fact, it's possible to do everything by himself, and for example, I know from several people that they did that. I know because we drafted a very detailed step-by-step guideline on how to do the whole process, starting from the company registration and ending with obtaining a residence permit. So I know from those feedbacks of people who use that guideline that they successfully did that.
Well, in this case, why do they need a lawyer?
Well, it depends on the person. It's like I think it's because why we go to a shop and buy bread. For example, we can bake bread ourselves. It's just easier. Of course, when you have a lawyer, it's easier. You have more chances to get it quicker. You have less chances to get registration rejected. But at the same time, you can do this by yourself. It will be cheaper for you, a little bit more stress, a little bit more your time invested in the process, but still you can do this and save a couple of US dollars probably.
And how much is the procedure?
If we're talking about the whole process, like starting from the company registration and including the residence permit, in general, I would say it's around $2,000 US. In some cases, it could be less. Like some lawyers charge less, some lawyers charge more, but I think that the middle is around $2,000 US.
And of course, the question that everybody has in mind: why is it so expensive?
Actually, it's not that expensive. First of all, we need to remember that that's a long process that includes, as I already said, 4 sub-stages. So there are lots of translations, notarizations, state duties. For example, state duty for only a work permit for 3 years will cost around $500. So the whole process, the cost of the whole process is not cheap. It will be around from $800 till $1,400, I would say, and it depends on the citizenship of a foreigner and on some other details. So the rest is the lawyer's fee.
And what is the most difficult part of that process?
I would say that they are pretty the same. I want to say that something is more difficult and something is less difficult. But of course, I could pick up some cases when it's really when the whole process could be jeopardized and under risk. For example, it's sometimes it's difficult to get a visa. When you set up a company successfully, when you got your work permit successfully, and then the Ukrainian consulate simply doesn't give you a visa, and you cannot influence on things somehow. The process, what you really can do, you can reapply to the same consulate, or maybe to another consulate, or you can appeal this visa rejection application. But again, you appeal this rejection to the same consulate. The second problem I would probably say is that the company has always to have a director. So from the first day of your company's life, there should be a director. And because a foreigner cannot work without a work permit, and you don't have a work permit yet, this means that the first company's director is always a Ukrainian citizen. So you need to find some Ukrainian who will agree to become your company's director for 1 month until you get your work permit. And that's also difficult because a director of a company bears full liability for the company's activity, including financial, administrative, criminal liability. And of course, people don't really like to become a director of a company. They don't understand what it is going to do and for what. And the third, I would say, probably registration of the place of residence, because when a foreigner finally gets his residence permit, he has 30 days to register his address. And again, there is a problem because landlords usually they don't again agree to register a foreigner at their apartments. Again, there are some legal peculiarities because of this. Some people are afraid that they can lose title on this apartment or house. In some cases, utility bills could be higher because officially more people live in this dwelling. So these are things that get the process a little bit more complicated.
Okay, so we've talked about the most complicated stages, and now maybe about the most common mistakes that people do when they apply for this residence permit.
The first, I guess, is usually people do mistakes when they apply, when they fill out the application, whether that's an application for a company registration, or a visa application, or an application for a work permit, whatever. Sometimes, and it always often happens, that people provide documents, bad format, let's say, not a notarized copy, but a regular copy, or with a notarized copy, but without an apostille, or this document is already expired, and things like this. I also would not advise foreigners to buy an existing company, because when you buy an existing company, this company has some history, and you can be 100% sure that there is no surprise hidden in that history of this company. So it's always better to register a new company, and actually it's relatively cheap and fast. I also would advise to hire an accountant. I know that some people try to do accounting by themselves, but eventually it will end up with some financial fines. It's better to start using a professional accountant, like just to outsource some accountant. And it's not that expensive. Usually people also miss deadlines. For example, when your residence is going to expire and you would like to extend, you are obliged to apply for this extension 15 days, not later than 15 days before its expiration. And sometimes people miss this deadline. They also miss the deadlines of their visas, etc. So just pay attention to your deadlines.
The question that is very popular among my subscribers on YouTube is about retirement in Ukraine. So if a person wants to retire here in Ukraine, what ways to get this do you recommend?
How to retire in Ukraine?
Yeah, like what kind of visa they need or residence permit, what to do?
It's the same. If we are talking about retirement and we understand that it's just living in Ukraine, staying here for a long period of time, again, we are talking about residence. And now you need to figure out how to get this residence. And if this foreigner cannot apply for residence because of due to a family reunion reason or some other reason, then the last option for him is to register a company and to go through this process. Retirement doesn't have anything different from just coming here and to work here, but to live for a long period of time.
And what if a person meets a person like a love of his life here in Ukraine and like reunites with his spouse? Here, does it give any extra chances?
Yeah, that's another option. But it can be used only when there is marriage registered between these persons. So yes, if a foreigner is married to a Ukrainian citizen, that's a very good reason to get a residence, a Ukrainian residence. In this case, you don't need this company, you don't need to do all those formalities. You apply for residence based on marriage. In this case, you can first you can get 1 year residence, which is extended every year. So you can extend it every year. But after 2 years of marriage, you can apply for permanent residence. And in this case, you'll need to extend it only every 10 years.
And another question, which is very popular these days, like we have this adaptive quarantine in Ukraine, and people have visa. And what if the visa expires? Is there any amnesty regarding visas and residence permits, and how long they're gonna last?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and there are many speculations about the situation. So the regulation that is enforced now said that if a foreigner overstayed in Ukraine during the quarantine and due to the quarantine, then in this case no financial penalties apply to this person. So the first speculation, and I would even say the current situation in practice, is that I haven't heard about any foreigner who was fined for overstaying. So we can say that right now Ukrainian Immigration Service and other Ukrainian authorities, they do allow foreigners to overstay because of this lockdown. However, in my mind, I would be very careful and I wouldn't recommend actually overstay, because right now every foreigner can come to Ukraine and leave from Ukraine. So basically, no one is limited in his transportation, and it will be difficult to prove that you overstayed because of quarantine, because you can buy an air ticket or you can buy a bus ticket and go to another country. Overstaying is not only about financial sanctions. If you overstay, you'll probably face problems when you want to buy some real estate, or you want to notarize some deed, or you want to get married, for example. And I already know about cases when, for example, recently the last case was an US citizen. He couldn't get married in Ukraine. His marriage application was rejected because he was overstayed.
Well, thank you very much for this super useful information. I hope, guys, you will appreciate it. Yes, I will put the link to the Sergey's law firm into the description of this video, and as well the link to this super useful chatbot Ivan. Yeah, that gives you really like online consultation of what you need to know to like relocate to Ukraine. Yeah, that is very basic but very clear information. Yeah, so I'm a foreigner, and what should I do if I want to relocate to Ukraine in very simple, basic words. Okay, thank you once again
you,
very
Olena.
much. Goodbye.
Bye bye.